Hey guys, tonight we drift into the strange and unnerving tale of a journey where time itself becomes slippery. And you, yes, you are the one who stumbles across its fragile seams. Imagine you're driving late at night, your headlights stretching across an empty highway. The lines on the road flicker by in hypnotic rhythm, and the low hum of your engine becomes almost like white noise. You rub your eyes, fighting the kind of drowsiness that sneaks in when there's no music, no chatter, just you and asphalt stretching forever. And then it happens. You miss your exit. Nothing dramatic, just one of those, ugh, now I've got to loop back moments. Except this time, looping back won't be so simple. Because tonight, the world you're steering into is already tilting, and you probably won't survive this without at least a little existential whiplash. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, post your location and the local time in the comments. I love knowing where in the world you're listening from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You veer down an unfamiliar ramp, asphalt cracked, weeds curling through the edges. The road feels less like an interstate and more like a forgotten service road. The GPS throws up its little digital hands, rerouting, recalculating, basically sighing at you. And then, through the dim glow of your high beams, something glimmers, a billboard. At first, nothing unusual, just the faded red of peeling paint, the stubborn shine of old metal. But then you notice the ad itself, not modern, not even retro cute like hipsters print on t-shirts. This thing screams 1950s suburbia. A grinning family clutching glass bottles of cola, with the slogan refreshing as tomorrow, in big, swoopy cursive. Except the company name isn't one you've ever heard. Not Pepsi, not Coke, not some niche root beer, just Purajoy soda. You slow down. Maybe it's a reproduction, some collector's odd project left out here. People love their nostalgia, after all. But as your headlights skim across the edges, you realize the metal framework isn't rusted or flaking. The paint isn't weather-beaten. It's like the thing was printed this morning. And here's where your sleepy brain perks up. Because even if the ad were real, billboards like this haven't stood by highways for decades. They'd be vinyl wraps by now, not hand-painted sheets of steel. Historians still argue whether the golden age of billboards ended with TV advertising in the late 60s or during the oil crisis of the 70s, when road culture itself faltered. Either way, your billboard here, it's out of time. The air smells different, too. You roll down your window and there's this faint sweetness, like a bakery left its door open somewhere nearby, but there's no bakery. Just black fields on either side, corn husks shivering in the wind. And then you notice the oddest detail of all, the family in the painting. The boy's shirt collar is tilted just so, and his face, you could swear you've seen him before. Not in a he looks like every 50s kid in a cereal ad way, no, in a personal stomach-dropping, that kid has my uncle's jawline way. You grip the wheel tighter, but curiosity nudges you toward the shoulder. You park, engine ticking as it cools, and step out. Gravel crunches under your shoes. Crickets chirp, but it's like they're half a beat behind reality, just slightly out of sync. That billboard towers above you, crisp and flawless in the moonlight. And the paint, if you lean close enough, feud. Swear it hasn't even dried yet. Here's where the joke kicks in. Because the rational part of your brain, the same part that insists expired yogurt is fine if it smells okay, is already making excuses. Maybe it's an art project. Maybe you stumbled into some advertising school prank. Or maybe, just maybe, you're tired and your eyes are pulling tricks. But when you run your fingers along the lower edge of the panel, you feel heat, not warmth, heat, as if the sun had set seconds ago, as if this billboard just caught its last rays and hasn't cooled. The road behind you is silent, too silent. Highways, even at night, usually carry the distant hum of an 18-wheeler or the faint whoosh of a car slipping by. But here, nothing. The silence swells until you feel the urge to cough just to prove you exist. You step back, gaze climbing toward the family again. And that's when you notice something that wasn't there before, at least. Your brain swears it wasn't. The father. The man holding the soda bottle aloft in his victorious dad grip. His eyes seem just a little too focused, not the vague cheer of a painted mascot. No, his pupils point straight down at you. The crickets stop, the sweet smell vanishes, and a gust of air pushes against your chest, hard enough that you stumble. The billboard flickers, not like a glitchy screen, but like someone just snapped a shutter on reality. One frame gone, one frame returned. You bolt back to the car, slam the door, lock it, like a lock would stop whatever cosmic prank is unfolding. The dashboard clock glows. 12:03 a.m. The second hand ticks forward, then ticks backward, then forward again. For a second, you almost laugh. Because who wouldn't? You, exhausted, staring at a soda ad from a company that never existed. Convinced its painted patriarch is eyeing you down like a security guard at Costco. But the laugh dies in your throat when the headlights catch something new in the distance. Another sign, smaller, wooden, planted by the road like a mile marker. Hand-painted letters spell out, Pure Joy, Bottling, Company next, exit. You're already halfway to turning the car around, but something in your gut twists. You know deep down you've just stepped onto a road that doesn't quite belong to this decade, maybe not even to this reality, and you can't resist seeing where it goes. You roll back onto the cracked road, headlights tunneling through the dark. The wooden sign is still behind you, pointing toward an exit that you definitely don't remember from the GPS. Curiosity wins the argument over common sense. As usual, you follow the curving asphalt until the road dips, and suddenly there it is. A flicker of neon, the glow oddly steady, humming like a hive. The glow belongs to a diner, and it's perfect in its imperfection. Chrome siding, dulled but not ruined, big rounded windows. A crooked neon sign buzzing the word EATS. No corporate logos, no chain branding, just pure Americana nostalgia. It's the kind of place people spend thousands recreating on movie sets. Except here, it's not decoration, it's real, standing in the middle of nowhere, as if it's been waiting for you. The bell above the glass door jingles when you push inside. The first breath you take smells of hot coffee and butter on a flat-top griddle, not burnt, not stale fresh, and the people inside. A handful of them, scattered across booths, heads bent over newspapers, not smartphones, newspapers. You catch glimpses of mastheads' dates, headlines, but you'll get to that in a moment. Behind the counter, the waitress looks up. She's wearing a starched uniform in pastel blue, little paper hat perched at an angle. She greets you with a smile that feels rehearsed, like she's been smiling this same way for decades. Sit anywhere you like, hun. You slide into a booth. The vinyl squeaks under you, the kind of sound no modern seat cushion makes anymore. She pours coffee without asking, steam curling into your face, and for one strange moment, it feels like you've stepped into a snow globe, time-sealed, perfect, unchanging. That's when you notice the woman across from you, alone at her booth, hands wrapped around her own mug. She's staring, not rudely, just intensely, as if she's trying to solve a puzzle with your face. You nod awkwardly, the universal hi, I see you to nod, and she lifts her mug in a faint salute. A strand of dark hair falls across her cheek. She looks late 30s, maybe, but something in her eyes suggests she's carrying more years than that long drive. She asks, her voice low, carrying across the quiet space. Sort of, you say. And because politeness still runs the show, you add road looks. Different out here. She gives a half smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Difference, one word. You glance at her table. A plate with a single slice of pie sits untouched, cherry red under fluorescent light. Next to it, a folded newspaper. You lean slightly to catch the date July 16th, 1969. You blink. That's the date Apollo 11 launched from Kennedy Space Center, sending Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins toward the moon. A day historians still argue changed not only America but the trajectory of human ambition. You know that date. Everyone knows that date. The problem is, today isn't 1969. You swallow hard, then glance back at your coffee. Maybe it's a novelty reprint, a diner theme thing, except the ink smudge on her fingertips looks a little too real. The woman studies your confusion, then leans forward. You don't remember it this way, do you? Remember what? You ask, your voice catching in your throat. She tilts her head. How the world really spun. You laugh nervously, because what else do you do when a stranger drops a line like that? I'm just passing through. Yeah, she says, leaning back, her gaze still pinning you. That's what they all say. The waitress interrupts, setting down a menu you hadn't asked for. Pancakes, omelets, patty melts. Prices so low, they'd make modern economists weep. You run a finger down the page, but you're not really reading. You're thinking about that billboard. The Pure Joy soda, the boy's face, the father's eyes. The woman across the booth clears her throat. Look, I don't mean to spook you, but people like us, we notice the cracks. You raise an eyebrow. Cracks in time. There it is. The word finally spoken aloud. You half expect a rim shot, a laugh track, something to tell you this is a joke. But the diner stays quiet, the bell above the door silent, the air thick with coffee and frying butter. She leans closer again. Things don't line up, memories don't match, and once you start seeing it well, you can't unsee it. Her words settle heavy in your chest, because deep down, you know she's right. You saw that billboard shimmer, felt the heat that shouldn't exist. And now, here she is, confirming the suspicion you hadn't dared to say aloud. You stir your coffee, pretending this is casual. So, you've seen these cracks before. She nods. My father remembered a president who never existed, swore he voted for him. My grandmother told stories about a town that nobody else could find on a map. And me, I've been carrying a photograph of a building that supposedly burned down 20 years before I was born. You want to laugh, but the conviction in her voice kills the punchline before it leaves your lips. Instead, you ask, so, what do you do with that? Just live with it. Her eyes glint, and for the first time, you see a spark of something beyond weariness. You investigate, you keep track, you watch for patterns. A fork clatters at another booth, startling you more than it should. The old man who dropped it mutters an apology, bending to retrieve it. You glance back toward the woman, but her booth is empty. Coffee cup, pie plate. The waitress breezes past and clears your untouched mug. "Another cup, hun?" she asks, like nothing strange just happened. You nod, more out of reflex than desire. And when the fresh coffee arrives, you stare into the dark liquid, watching your own reflection ripple, and wonder if you've just met someone who knows the rules of a game you didn't even realize you were playing. Outside, the neon flickers, the night waits. When you finally push back out into the night, the diner's neon buzz fades into the distance like a memory that refuses to hold still. The air feels colder now, sharper, the kind of chill that makes you pull your jacket tighter even though you're sure the temperature hasn't dropped. Gravel crunches under your tires as you rejoin the road. Headlights sweep across empty fields, and the hum of the engine becomes your only anchor. But then you remember what she said. You don't remember it this way, do you? Her words loop in your head until they start to sound less like a question and more like an accusation. You glance at the dashboard, clock still working, at least for no end, whisper a useless reassurance. It's fine, everything's fine, which of course is the universal sign that things are absolutely not fine. A mile or two ahead, the road bends toward a cluster of low buildings, more shadows than structures. You ease onto the shoulder, curiosity prying your hands off the wheel. There's a sagging chain-link fence, a locked gate hanging half open, and behind it, an abandoned gas station, the kind with rounded pumps that look more like relics than machines. And taped inside the dusty window of the office, a photograph. You step closer, heartbeat ticking louder with every crunch of gravel. The photograph is black and white, edges curling with age. At first glance, it's nothing special, just a group of people posing in front of this very station. Smiles broad, hands raised in casual waves, except your eyes snag on one figure at the back, a teenager, shoulders squared, eyes forward. It's you, not someone who merely resembles you, not a coincidence of genetics. It's you. Same jawline, same lopsided smirk you hate seeing in candid photos. And this picture, it looks decades old. The rational part of your brain leaps to work. Maybe it's a trick of light. Maybe you're just projecting because your nerves are fried. Historians still argue whether doppelgangers are just cultural myth or some deep-rooted psychological fear. But either way, the idea of confronting your own face in the past isn't exactly reassuring bedtime material. And yet, the photo doesn't blur when you squint. It doesn't fade when you press your nose against the glass. The teenager stares right back, frozen in a moment you never lived. You tug at the door, half expecting it to rattle but stay locked. Instead, it creaks open with minimal resistance, the padlock hanging loose, snapped like it was never more than decoration. Inside, dust swirls under your flashlight beam. Old calendars peel from the wall, pages yellowed, corners curling. One calendar bears the year 1974, a month circled in red ghost. The ink is still vivid, as though the circle was drawn just yesterday. You find the photo again, this time pinned to a corkboard. And here's the kicker. The paper feels wrong in your hands. Not brittle, not delicate, fresh. The ink still smells faintly of developer fluid, the way photographs do when they first come out of a darkroom. It shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. Your stomach flips. You shove the picture back, dust clouding around it, and stumble outside. The night air smacks your face like a wake-up call, but it's not over, because when you glance back at the station window, the photograph is gone. You check your hands empty, you pat your pockets, nothing. Yet the phantom feel of slick photo paper clings to your fingertips. Here's the kicker. Photographs do have strange histories. Historians still argue whether spirit photography in the 19th century was all hoaxes, or whether a handful captured something real. Families used them to prove they could see loved ones beyond the grave. Tonight, you're living your own version of that except the ghost isn't someone else, it's you. You climb back into the car, slam the door, and lock it, as if locks can hold back the past. The dashboard clock ticks forward, steady now, and you grip the wheel like it's the only thing keeping you grounded. Driving again, you keep glancing in the rearview mirror. Not for cars, there aren't any, but for movement. For another glimpse of that younger you, but the road stays empty. Your reflection tired and pale in the glass. Still, you can't shake the sense that the photograph isn't finished with you, like it's tucked itself into the folds of your memory, waiting for the right moment to reappear. And as the road stretches on, the darkness feels heavier. Not just night-heavy history heavy, like every mile you cover peels back a layer of time you're not supposed to touch. The road carries you into town, or at least what counts as a town here. A cluster of brick buildings huddle around a square, their windows dim, their signage faint under the moonlight. You ease to a stop, the tires crunching against cobblestones. Yes, cobblestones, because apparently asphalt didn't get the memo. You step out, the air thick with the faint smell of paper, ink, and dust. A library stands at the corner, its facade grander than the rest, a relic of Carnegie's famous grants that peppered small towns with temples of knowledge in the early 1900s. The wide stone steps draw you in. The brass handle of the door is cold and slick, like it's been polished every day for a century. Inside, the hush is immediate. No traffic, no chatter, just the faint shuffle of your own feet and the smell of old books. Rows upon rows of shelves lean like tired soldiers. A lone desk lamp glows, and beside it sits a pile of newspapers. They're stacked in no particular order: 1937, next to 1955, 1982, folded against 1911. You reach for one at random. The paper crackles, headlines bold. Local hero returns from war. The year 1947. The war, that's the problem. It doesn't say World War II, it says the Continental Conflict. You frown, scanning the column. Dates don't line up. Names of generals you've never heard of. Battles fought in places that don't exist on any map you know. Historians still argue whether misprints and phantom wars, recorded in small-town presses, were the result of sloppy reporting, deliberate propaganda, or just human error. But this isn't sloppy. This is precise, detailed, insistent. You set it down, reach for another. 1963. The headline: President survives, Dallas scare. Your breath catches, survives. You know what happened in Dallas in November of that year. The assassination of John F. Kennedy is etched into history books, classrooms, conspiracy theories. Yet here, the paper insists he waved from a limousine after a minor scare, alive and smiling. You blink hard, rub your eyes. The ink doesn't change. You grab another paper. 1989. Berlin Wall expanded. You know the opposite is true. Broadcast to the entire world. The wall fell that year, a symbol of Cold War collapse. Here, though, The article praises a recommitment to stability as new sections of concrete rise. Your pulse quickens. One more paper. 2001. Skyscraper fire contained. Thousands saved. The photo shows familiar twin towers, still standing, smoke curling but intact. You lean back, dizzy. Every article rewrites the world you thought you knew. And worse, each edition looks authentic. Yellowed edges, fonts consistent with their supposed era, ads selling soap flakes and transistor radios. You stumble deeper into the stacks. More anomalies whisper at you. Local obituaries listing people who shouldn't exist. Advertisements for Pure Joy soda spanning decades, as though the company thrived while vanishing from your memory. And then you find the archive index, a leather-bound ledger, cataloging every issue ever printed. You flip pages, and suddenly, there's your name again, scribbled in tight librarian's script, listed not as a researcher, but as a contributor. Apparently, you submitted an editorial in 1972, which is impressive, considering you weren't alive in 1972. The floor creaks above you. Someone else is here. You freeze, listening. Soft footsteps move across the mezzanine, just out of sight. You clear your throat, hello, but no answer comes. The sound fades, leaving only silence and the faint rustle of pages. You clutch the ledger to your chest, then quickly shove it back, like maybe if you stop touching it, it'll stop existing. But it doesn't. The weight of rewritten history presses in from every shelf. And here's the quirky tidbit that your exhausted brain latches onto. Did you know librarians used to write secret notes in margins of newspapers? Little annotations about errors or scandals. Whole conspiracies have been found scribbled in the gutters of archives, invisible until someone bothered to look. Tonight, you feel like you've walked straight into one of those footnotes, except the whole building is a margin. You head for the exit, heart pounding. The brass handle is cool again, but this time, when you push outside, the square feels different. The buildings lean a little closer. Street lamps flicker like they're whispering. And you can't shake the feeling that the town is quietly, politely, waiting to see what you'll do next. The night air feels charged, like static before a storm, as you drift away from the square. The library's warped version of history still hums in your skull, pages curling behind your eyes. You try to convince yourself it's just fatigue, but the rationalizations don't stick anymore. You're past tired. You're in territory where reality itself keeps slipping through your fingers. Up ahead, a small train station squats by the tracks. No digital displays, no LED security lights, just a squat brick building, iron benches out front, and a hanging sign that creaks in the breeze. The word depot is painted in bold serif letters, chipped at the corners, but stubbornly intact. You think about passing it by, but then a low horn moans through the dark. Headlights appear down the line, a pale glow swelling into brilliance, and before you know it, you're drawn toward the platform. The train screeches in with a satisfying metallic grind. Steam hisses, white plumes curling around your ankles. And here's your first red flag. You can't remember the last time you saw a passenger train run on steam. Sure, modern tourist lines mimic the old ways, but this isn't some amusement park. This is midnight in the middle of nowhere. And a machine that belongs to the 1930s just rolled up like it's clocked in for the night shift. You step aboard, swallowed by the warmth. The car smells of coal and oil, mixed with the faint musk of old leather. Wooden trim frames the windows. Upholstered seats line the rows, a little threadbare, a little lumpy but functional. Passengers dot the spacemen in fedoras, women with scarves tied neatly under their chins, kids dressed like they stepped out of your grandparents' photo albums. They glance at you, but no one stares. You slide into a seat, the cushion sighing beneath your weight. Across the aisle, a man in a gray suit adjusts his pocket watch. Not a smartphone, and actual watch on a chain, which he snaps shut before slipping into his vest. You try not to gawk, but it's like stepping into a period drama, except the cast doesn't know it's acting. A conductor approaches, cap tilted, jacket pressed. "Ticket?" he asks, his voice gravelly, polite. You freeze. You pat your pockets like a magician, fumbling for a rabbit. "No ticket." He studies you for a moment, then nods once. "Don't wander between cars," he mutters, and moves on, just like that. No fine, no escort back to the platform. Almost as if your presence was expected, the train lurches forward. Wheels clack against the rails in steady rhythm, hypnotic and strangely soothing. You lean your head against the window, watching darkness streak by. Fields blur into forests, forests into rolling hills. For a moment, you let yourself sink into the rocking motion, lulled by the sound. But then you notice something odd. The timetable pinned above the aisle lists stops you don't recognize. Towns with names you've never seen, even though you pride yourself on knowing maps. And the dates, they don't make sense either. Some stations are scheduled for 1912, others for 1985. One bizarrely marked 2029. You blink, rub your eyes, still there. The timetable isn't just a schedule, it's a collage of decades, pasted together like someone raided the scrapbook of history. Here's where the scholarly debate sneaks in. Historians still argue whether trains themselves reshaped our sense of time. Before railroads, noon was whenever the sun hit its peak above your town. After railroads, standardized timetables forced everyone into the same clock. Time zones were invented just to keep the trains on schedule. You're living that logic now, except instead of sinking towns, this train sinks centuries. You press your palm against the glass. For a split second, your reflection isn't your own, it's younger. Hair slicked back, collar starched, then older, crow's feet framing your eyes. Then gone. You yank your hand back, heart thudding. A kid across the aisle grins at you, like he saw the whole thing and thinks it's hilarious. He clutches a soda bottle, Pure Joy, of course. Bubbles fizz against the glass, label crisp and modern despite the kid's vintage overalls. He offers it to you, but before you can respond, his mother gently tugs it from his hand and shushes him. The conductor passes again. This time, his gaze lingers. "Your stop's coming," he says quietly. You almost argue didn't buy a ticket, didn't choose a destination. But the train slows, brakes screeching, lights flickering. Outside, a platform materializes from the dark, lit by lanterns. A sign hangs above in flaking paint. "Welcome to Belleford, a town you've never heard of, waiting like it's been expecting you all along." You hesitate, fingers gripping the seat. The kid with the soda waves goodbye. The conductor tips his cap, and before you know it, your legs carry you down the aisle, out the door, onto the wooden platform where history shifts under your feet. The train exhales steam, doors slam shut, and in a burst of sparks and smoke, it rattles, a wave, vanishing into the night like it never existed. You stand alone, the silence loud, the timetable burned into your mind, past, present, future, all on one track. Belleford greets you like a half-remembered dream. The platform boards creak under your shoes, lanterns swinging gently overhead, casting amber circles onto the planks. Beyond the station, streets unfold in crooked lines, houses leaning close together, their porches sagging under the weight of time. You can hear a dog barking in the distance, the faint hiss of a phonograph playing through an open window, and somewhere far off, the low toll of a church bell. You step off the platform and wander into town. It feels both alive and abandoned, like a place caught between breaths. The storefronts glow with signs painted by hand hardware, apothecary, barber, but their windows reveal only shadows, and then you see it, an old brick building with faded gold letters across the front. Town Hall and records, your pulse quickens. Records mean names, dates, evidence, proof that this isn't just exhaustion playing tricks on you. You push open the heavy oak door, hinges groaning in protest, and step inside. The hall smells of mildew and ink. Dust motes dance in the beam of your flashlight, and somewhere in the rafters a bat squeaks. Against the far wall stands a set of filing cabinets, drawers labeled with neat brass plates. Ledger books lie piled on a desk, their spines cracked but serviceable. You pick one up at random, its leather worn smooth from years of hands. The inked script inside is precise, almost beautiful. Pages filled with lists of names, births, deaths, marriages, taxes paid. And there, halfway down a page dated August 12, 1923, your stomach drops. Your name, not just your name, your full name, middle initial included, spelled exactly the way you sign it on official documents. Beside it, resident of Belleford, age 27, occupation, clerk. You stare at the entry until the letters blur. Your rational brain scrambles for excuses. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe someone else in history just happened to share your name. But you know better. This isn't a John Smith situation. This is too specific, too exact. You flip more pages. The name repeats. Listed again in 1946. In 1979, always the same spelling, always tied to Belleford. Sometimes married, sometimes widowed, sometimes marked with deceased, only for the same name to reappear decades later. It's as if you've lived here across centuries, slipping in and out of time like a stone skipping across water. And here's where the quirky tidbit makes things worse. Did you know there are stories of towns where the same surnames appear over and over in records, centuries apart, even when families supposedly moved away? Historians still argue whether it's lazy clerks reusing forms or some eerie persistence of bloodlines. But seeing your name printed again and again, you know it's neither. It's something stranger. You run your hand along the shelves, fingers tracing the spines of old ledgers. One falls open to reveal a faded family tree. At the top, an unfamiliar patriarch. Below, branches of names, looping through generations. And there, again, your own, etched in ink, tangled among ancestors you don't recognize. The door creaks, you freeze. A figure stands in the doorway, framed by lantern light. An old man, stooped, with a cane in one hand. His eyes squint at you like he's searching his memory. Finally, he rasps, "You're back." Your throat tightens. "I think you've got me confused with—" "No," he interrupts, voice firm despite the rasp. "It's you. Same as before." He limps inside, tapping his cane against the floor. "I've kept the books. Every time you come through, I add the entry. Different year, same face. You take a step back, nearly tripping over a chair. That's impossible. Historians still argue what's impossible, he mutters, settling into the desk chair. I just record what happens. The weight of his words presses against your chest. He gestures toward the open ledger, then fixes you with a stare sharp enough to cut. You're part of this town, whether you believe it or not. Belleford doesn't forget its own. Outside, the church bell tolls again. 1, 2, 3, midnight, settling in like a verdict. You clutch the ledger, then slam it shut. The sound echoes through the hall, stirring dust into the air. The old man doesn't flinch. He just smiles, the kind of smile that knows something you don't. You bolt for the door, stepping back into the night, lungs heaving. The streets are quiet, the lanterns burning low, and yet you swear the buildings lean a little closer, their windows watching you with unblinking patience. Belleford remembers, and now so do you. The night air in Belleford feels heavier now, like it's pushing against your chest with every step. You walk down the crooked streets, trying to ignore the way the shadows bend at the corners. The ledger's weight still clings to your hands, phantom-like, as if you never set it back on the shelf. You can't shake the words of the old man's same face, same name, every time you come through. Your mind races with possibilities. Are you trapped in some loop, living and reliving different lives in this town? Or maybe you're only one in a long line of copies, each version repeating the same cycle. Historians still argue whether stories of reincarnation were ever meant to be spiritual guidance or just metaphor for human legacy. Right now, though, it feels uncomfortably literal. You find yourself drawn to a narrow side street, its cobblestones slick with dew. A sign sways overhead, squeaking in the breeze. Belleford Historical Society. The building is squat and brick, its windows shuttered. Something inside whispers to you an almost magnetic pull-land against better judgment. You step closer. The front door is locked, but the side gate isn't. You slip through, finding yourself in a tiny courtyard cluttered with crates. One of them is marked artifacts, not for display. You pry it open. Inside, wrapped in yellowing cloth, lies a pocket watch. The design is intricate, vines curling around the case, a tiny engraving of a spiral on the back. You flip it open and your breath stops. Inside, instead of numbers, the dial is etched with dates, not times dates, some from centuries ago, some yet to come. And right there, glowing faintly, is today's date. You laugh nervously. Sure, why not? Time doesn't need to make sense anymore. It echoes off the courtyard walls, the kind of sound you regret making because now you've drawn attention to yourself. Footsteps shuffle inside the building. You freeze, clutching the watch. Through a crack in the shutter, you spot movement, shelves lined with jars, bottles, and curios. And on the wall, pinned like a trophy, is a map of Belleford. Except the map isn't static. The streets are shifting, twisting, like lines on wet ink. Quirky tidbit time. There are real historical maps where rivers change course mid-page, drawn by cartographers who couldn't agree on geography, or maybe just wanted to freak out future historians. Some even show phantom islands that never existed. Belleford's map feels like one of those, only alive, its streets rearranging themselves while you watch. You back away from the shutter, heart pounding. The pocket watch ticks louder in your hand, though its dial doesn't move. Just the same glowing date, steady and insistent. The footsteps stop. A voice calls out from inside, low and gravelly. Found something you shouldn't have, didn't you? You spin toward the gate, but it's shut now, closed and chained, though you swear it was open seconds ago. Panic rises in your throat. You rattle the locket, doesn't budge. The voice grows closer, accompanied by the scrape of boots across wood. People like you never learn. Always poking, always pulling at the threads. The back door creaks open. A tall figure steps into the courtyard, lantern raised. The light catches his face, and you almost drop the watch. It's the old man from the town hall, but younger. His back is straight, his hair fuller, though the same piercing eyes lock onto yours. You stammer, I didn't mean to. He cuts you off with a shake of his head. Every cycle, you find the watch. Every cycle, you run. You think you're the first to be clever, but you're not. You're just on time. He gestures toward the watch in your hand. Go ahead, open it again. You hesitate. The watch hums faintly, the spiral engraving warm against your palm. Slowly, you flip it open. The glowing date flickers, then shifts. Tomorrow's date, then the next, then one far in the future. The air around you thickens, the courtyard walls blurring. You see, the man says, voice almost gentle now. Time doesn't move in a line here. It folds, loops, and you. He smiles without humor. You're the hinge. The dizziness grows. Your knees buckle, and the cobblestones tilt beneath you. The world spins, as if pulled into the watch's spiral, streets and stars twisting together. Just before the darkness swallows you, you hear his last words, quiet but sharp enough to cut through the chaos. Belleford keeps what it needs, and it needs you. You wake to the sound of water dripping, steady as a metronome. The ground beneath you is cool stone, slick with damp, and the air smells of earth mildew and something metallic like rusted iron. When you open your eyes, the world is dim, lit only by a faint green glow seeping from moss on the cavern walls. You sit up slowly, groggy, and the memory of the pocket watch comes rushing back. It lies in your hand, closed now, but still warm. You run your thumb over the spiral engraving, half afraid it will pull you in again. The silence of the cave presses close, broken only by the drip, drip, drip of unseen water. You call out once, hello, but your voice is swallowed whole, as though the rock itself refuses to answer. You stand and begin walking. Your footsteps echo, reminding you of the way tunnels in old cathedrals were designed to magnify chance. Mainstream historical fact for you. In medieval Europe, architects built secret passageways and acoustics so whispers could be heard from across massive halls, handy for priests, less handy for anyone plotting rebellion. Here, though, the echo only makes you feel smaller, like the cave is playing tricks on your senses. The walls narrow until you're forced to turn sideways. As you squeeze through, your shoulder brushes a carving. You shine your flashlight and gasp. Etched into the rock is your name again. Not once, but dozens of times, spiraling outward in overlapping patterns. Some letters are fresh, shallow scratches. Others are so weathered they're barely legible. It's like generations of hands have carved and recarved you into the stone. You mutter, great, I'm basically a tourist attraction down here. The joke falls flat, bouncing back at you in hollow echoes. As you press deeper, the carvings multiply. Faces now crude and uneven, but some bear enough detail to resemble you. Same crooked smile, same tired eyes. The repetition sends a chill crawling up your spine. Historians still argue whether cave art was religious ritual, a storytelling tool, or just prehistoric graffiti. Looking at these, you wonder if your face has become Belleford's religion or its warning sign. The tunnel finally widens into a cavern. Pools of water glisten on the floor, reflecting the eerie green light, and in the center, resting on a stone pedestal, sits another ledger. Its leather cover is bloated with damp, but somehow, impossibly, the brass clasp gleams as if polished yesterday. You hesitate, then open it. The handwriting is the same elegant script from the town hall records. But instead of neat lists, this book is filled with looping, frantic entries. He returns. Always the same, always unknowing. Page after page repeats variations of that phrase. Your heart races as you flip faster until one entry stops you cold. Next appearance, tonight. You slam the book shut, pulse thundering in your ears. The dripping water quickens, though maybe that's just your heartbeat. Then, faintly, a sound threads through the cavern, the distant tick of the pocket watch. Except it isn't in your hand anymore. You spin, searching the shadows. The tick grows louder, bouncing from every direction. Suddenly, the watch's glow ignites on the far wall, casting light over another carving. This one isn't your name, it's a date. Today's date. You back away, but the cavern doesn't let you. The floor seems to tilt, guiding your steps toward the glowing mark. The tick becomes deafening, like 1,000 clocks striking midnight all at once. And then you hear it. A voice layered over the ticking. Not the old man's, not the younger version either. This voice is softer, smoother, almost hypnotic. Stop running. You're already here. The moss light dims, the cavern walls blur. And for a heartbeat you feel suspended between past and future, like a photograph being developed in chemical fog. The watch vibrates in your palm again, though you don't remember picking it up. You whisper, "What do you want from me?" The voice sighs, close to your ear now. Not want, need. Belleford doesn't move without you. The green glow vanishes. Total darkness swallows you whole. Only the ticking remains, steady and inescapable, like a countdown you can't escape. The darkness presses in, heavy as velvet drapes, smothering the last trace of light. You stand perfectly still, holding your breath, as if movement might tip the balance between here and nowhere. The ticking in your palm, steady as slow, deliberate, like it's waiting for you to make the next move. Then, a faint glow flickers. Not green moss this time, but warm candlelight, spilling from a doorway that wasn't there before. You walk toward it, feet sliding over damp stone. The closer you come, the more the air changes, less cave, more parlor. A draft carries the faint scent of tobacco smoke, old wood, polish, and cinnamon. You step through the threshold and blink. You're in a living room, Victorian, by the looks of it, floral wallpaper, heavy curtains, oil paintings on the walls. A fire crackles in the hearth, though no one tends it. On the mantel rests a row of clocks, all ticking out of sync. Their mismatched rhythms create a restless heartbeat in the room. You lower yourself into a chair, its velvet cushions sinking beneath your weight, and let out a shaky laugh. Sure, why not? Underground cavern, too cozy, time traveler, Airbnb, totally normal. From somewhere deeper in the house, footsteps approach. Not hurried, calm, practiced. You grip the watch tighter as a figure emerges. It's you. Not a reflection, another version of you. A little older, dressed in period clothes, waistcoat, pocket square, hair slicked back. He studies you with mild curiosity, as if he's been expecting this. Finally made it through the caverns. Did you? Your throat goes dry. You're me. He smiles faintly. One of them, one of us. Depends how you measure. He crosses to the mantel, adjusts one of the clocks. Belleford doesn't just trap you, you know. It replicates, splits. Every pass through the loop, another piece of you gets left behind. Some fade, some linger. He gestures toward himself with a theatrical bow. I lingered. The absurdity makes you laugh again. A nervous, too loud sound. So what? The town's just collecting me like baseball cards. He shrugs. Historians still argue whether identity is singular or layered. Here, you don't get to argue. You just stack. The fire pops, scattering sparks. Shadows jitter across the room. For a moment, you think you see dozens of faces in the wallpaper pattern all yours, staring back with identical expressions. You lean forward. If you're me, tell me this. How do I leave? Older you chuckles softly. You don't leave. You transition. Every version tries to run, but the watch always finds you. It's not a cage, it's a hinge. He taps the spiral engraving on the pocket watch. Open it, and you'll see, but you won't escape. You shake your head. No, there has to be a way out. He leans closer, voice dropping to a whisper. Out, maybe, but not back, never back. The fire dims suddenly, shrinking to a thin blue flame. The clocks all stop at once. Silence collapses around you, thicker than the cave darkness. Older you stands, straightens his waistcoat. It's your turn now. The town remembers. The book is waiting. You'll write the next entry. Before you can answer, he fades, dissolving into smoke that drifts toward the mantel. The flame winks out, plunging you into shadow again. The watch grows hot in your hand, pulsing like a heartbeat. You snap it open, desperate for light. The dial is blank. No dates, no numbers. Just the spiral, glowing brighter and brighter, until the room itself seems to spin. The walls peel away. The floor dissolves. You're falling again, tumbling through streets and seasons. Belleford folding and unfolding around you like origami. And over the roar of wind and time, a familiar voice threads through the old man's rasp, steady and cruelly calm. You can't outrun yourself. You land with a soft thud on cold grass. The world around you settling into an uneasy quiet. The sky overhead swirls with stars unfamiliar to your eyes, constellations that shimmer and pulse as if breathing. The watch lies in your palm, now cool and silent, but you know it's far from inert. Every tick of its invisible mechanism echoes in your chest. A reminder that time here doesn't move in straight lines. It folds, twists, and loops like the streets of Belleford. You rise, brushing dew from your clothes. Around you, the town stretches in the distance. Familiar yet impossibly altered. Houses lean at strange angles, street lamps flicker with anachronistic colors, and a soft wind carries fragments of voices, snippets of conversations you've overheard before, now whispered from corners of reality you cannot locate. The diner, the train station, the library, they all exist simultaneously, layered over each other like transparent sheets, overlapping past, present, and possible futures. You take a tentative step forward. The grass beneath your feet is oddly soft, springy, as though the earth itself remembers your every step. And in that moment, you realize something. Belleford isn't just a town, it's a repository, a living record. Every anomaly you've encountered, every photograph, ledger, newspaper, and time-bending event is a piece of a puzzle you didn't know you were part of. A figure emerges from the haze ahead. It's the woman from the diner. She stands calmly, her eyes holding the same intensity you saw that night. "You've seen enough to understand," she says, voice low, almost a whisper. "Belleford is patient, but it requires acknowledgement. You can't run from it. You can only bear witness and move with it." You nod slowly, heart hammering. The absurdity, the impossibility of what you've experienced no longer feels like a question. It feels inevitable. Historians still argue whether certain towns in America had invisible layers of history erased by time. But Belleford is proof that some anomalies don't vanish, they persist. The wind shifts, carrying the faint aroma of coffee and cherry pie. A nostalgic pang hits you. The diner you first stumbled into, now visible in the distance, neon buzzing faintly. You hear the train again, distant wheels clacking on steel, a rhythm that seems to align with your own heartbeat. You understand, finally, that this place doesn't ask for comprehension. It asks for participation. The watch pulses one last time in your hand, then quiets. You tuck it into your pocket, letting its presence settle there like a heartbeat you can carry. Belleford stretches before you, layered and strange, a tapestry of time where past, present, and future intertwine. You walk forward, unsure where each step will take you, but certain that each stride is part of a larger pattern. Your pattern. In the distance, the town lights shimmer like fireflies. You breathe deeply, letting the cool air wash over you. Every moment, every anomaly, every echo of yourself, past and future, is stitched into the fabric of Belleford, and now into you. The realization isn't frightening, it's grounding. The town, with all its twists and paradoxes, has accepted you, and in turn, you accept it. And with that understanding, the night grows still. The stars above spin slowly in silent acknowledgement, and you continue walking, carrying your part of the story forward. The town fades gently into your periphery as you slow your pace, letting the chaos of the night dissolve into calm. Every sound softens: the creak of the wooden porches, the distant clatter of unseen footsteps, the low hum of street lamps. You can feel the pulse of Belleford beneath your feet, steady and unhurried, a reminder that time in this place doesn't rush. The pocket watch rests quietly in your pocket, no longer demanding attention, a subtle heartbeat to keep your own in rhythm. Breathe deeply. Feel the cool air filling your lungs, the gentle stretch in your legs, the quiet whisper of wind threading through the trees. Every anomaly, every loop, every strange echo of yourself begins to settle like silt in a calm river. You realize that the town's peculiarities aren't threatening, they are patient, waiting for understanding, for acknowledgement, and for the gentle passage of your presence. Your footsteps slow further until you nearly glide. The street lamps flicker softly, casting long, reassuring shadows. The distant train hums a lullaby in your ears, while the scent of coffee, pie, and fresh grass blends into a comforting symphony. Every impossible detail, the flickering diner, the spiraling ledgers, the layered maps, is now a part of the quiet tapestry surrounding you. Let your body relax. Let your mind drift. You are a part of this world, and it is part of you. The stars above twinkle softly, each a gentle reminder that even in the most extraordinary circumstances, there is rhythm, order, and calm. Slowly, your heartbeat aligns with the subtle pulse of Belleford. Time need not be conquered. It need only be experienced. You feel safe. You feel seen. You feel a gentle surrender to the flow of events, a soft exhale into the quiet of the night. The world softens. Every sound, scent, and shadow blends into a soothing lull, drawing your awareness inward. The anomalies fade into the background, leaving a gentle, timeless calm. You take one last deep breath, letting it out slowly, and feel yourself fold into the gentle embrace of the night, ready to rest.